Mental health is
It's crazy.
ooh, ooh, ooh. He's a madman. Yeah, kill him.
Hey, the murder genie. Yeah, I know what's going on. I just jumped out the porch with Dirty Glove Bastard.
This is Tevin Burney, 23 years old, known on the streets of North Carolina as YBT, Young Boss Tevo. He was one of the most talented rappers to come out of Durham, NC, a city that the rap world had been sleeping on for years. He had touched Rolling Loud stages, signed to Atlantic Records, and was right at the door of a mainstream career that most people from his neighborhood never even get close to. But on the night of March 13th into the 14th of 2026, Tevin Burney was found shot dead inside a car on North Roxborough Street in Durham, and the man who was once supposed to be his brother posted on Instagram saying he never thought he would be the last one standing. Before we get to that night, we need to go back to where this whole thing started. Tevin Burney grew up in Braggtown, a neighborhood in the northern part of Durham that the locals also call Braggtown or BTG. It is a small area, but it carries a lot of weight in terms of its street history. For years, Braggtown had been the home base of a violent street gang called the 8 Tray Gangster Crips, or ETG, a set that federal prosecutors later described as responsible for a large portion of the violent crime and drug sales in Durham. Tevin was not someone who chose that world from the outside. He was born into it and raised inside it, surrounded by it from childhood.
I grew up in the trenches, but back then I used to hoop and shit, but that's a little phase everybody go through, but yeah, I don't really know. It's gang shit, you feel me?
In a 2017 interview, when YBT was just 16 years old, he talked openly about the price that environment had already taken from him personally.
I lost my uncle. Yeah, I lost my goddamn uncle and shit. I was like 2009. Feel me? He got shot in the eye and shit like that. Damn. I put him in most of my songs, no Lil Cody. Feel me?
His uncle was killed in street violence around 2009, and from that point on, Tevin carried that loss with him into everything he made. Music was where he put it. You could hear it in his voice. It was not performance, and it was not content strategy. The grief was real, and the music came from a real place. He started rapping seriously around 14 or 15 years old, and by 2016, when he was about 13 or 14, he dropped his first song and video called Smoke. It got over 20,000 plays on SoundCloud almost immediately, and gave him a buzz across the whole city before he had even formed a group. Durham had not seen anything like that from someone so young. That early run is what eventually put him in the same space as two other rappers from the same area, and together the three of them formed what would become the most talked about rap group to ever come out of North Carolina. The group was called 83 Babies. The three members were Tevin, going by YBT, Antonio Davenport Jr., who went by Lil Tony, and Tyrese Taylor, who went by Set It Off 83. YBT was the youngest of the three. The name 83 Babies was not chosen at random. It was a direct reference to the 8 Tray Gangster Crips, the gang set that Lil Tony was affiliated with in Braggtown, and court documents would later confirm that all three members were affiliated with that gang. Their music did not hide any of that. Guns, drugs, retaliation, loyalty to the set, it was all in the lyrics and the videos, and that raw realness is exactly what made people pay attention.
When I told you I dropped my first song, right? The other 83 Baby that's locked up,
Tony.
He really wanted me and Set It Off to do a song with another rapper. I ain't gonna say his name, but he was gonna pay for the shit, you feel me? So we was all in the studio and shit, so he like, man, we need to goddamn come up with a group. He the oldest, you feel me? But he wasn't really rapping then, cause me and Set It Off kinda the ones who really doing it, you feel me? So he was just like, we need to come up with a group, like that shit gonna be hot. So we like, yeah, we just gotta come up with a name. And niggas came up with a name and they took off from there, for real.
By 2018, the group was picking up real momentum through WorldStar and SoundCloud, and then their song No Cap went viral after a remix with Rich the Kid, and it changed everything.
For me, it was kind of unbelievable because at first I didn't think it was gonna blow, you feel me? But set it off, he used to always tell me like, bro, it's gonna blow, you feel me? I'm like,
Rich the Kid signed the group to his Rich Forever music label under Atlantic Records in March of 2019 after what was reported as a full bidding war between labels. They went on tour, got on the Rich Forever 4 compilation, and performed at Rolling Loud. Migos put them on. These three young men from Braggtown were buying homes and cars and living a life that looked nothing like where they had come from. And it genuinely seemed like they were about to change everything for themselves and their people.
Me, like, it was kind of hard because I'm from the trenches. Like, I stayed in the trenches 16 years plus, you feel me? I'm from Braggtown, North Carolina. Me and both of them, you feel me? Like, we'll be in LA, I'll be ready to go home. Like, I'll be homesick or something, but they used to say it, I'd be like, man, I ain't homesick, I just want to go back to the city, you feel me? We'll be in LA doing shit that I ain't used to, like, hang around motherfuckers, like, other people homies ain't my homies. I'd rather be around my niggas, you feel me? Because I already know how they coming. I can't put my trust in nobody else, you feel me?
But even at the top of their run, YBT was already feeling the pressure of being somewhere that was not home. He was homesick in Los Angeles, uncomfortable around people he had not grown up with, and struggling to trust anyone outside his Durham circle. That tension he was carrying at the height of their success would turn out to be a preview of everything that was about to go wrong, because while they were out there building, something was moving back home in Durham that no record deal was going to be able to stop. To understand how 83 Babies fell apart, you have to understand what the 8 Tray Gangster Crips, or ETG for short, actually were in Durham, because without that context, the whole story stops making sense. The gang, based in Braggtown and the surrounding North Side area of Durham, operated as what federal prosecutors called a criminal street gang engaged in a pattern of ongoing criminal activity, including targeted drive-by shootings against rival groups, illegal drug trafficking, armed robberies, bank fraud, and witness intimidation. Their initiation process was a beating that lasted exactly 83 seconds, which is where the 8 Tray name comes from. Members were known internally as demons, and they were in an active and violent back and forth with a rival Durham group called O Block, a set that was formed after a young man named Kyle Fisher, who they called O, was killed in 2017, and his people blamed the 8 Tray Crips for his death. That rivalry between 8 Tray and O Block is what started the chain of events that destroyed everything the 83 Babies had built. On August 14th of 2019, Lil Tony was at the streets at South Point Mall in Durham when he was jumped and robbed by O Block rivals, who took his chain right off his neck and posted a video of the whole thing on social media. The video spread fast. People were commenting on it, laughing at it, sharing it. In the world Lil Tony came from, that kind of public disrespect could not go unanswered, and he was not the type to let it slide. Over the following days, he was on Instagram making threats, messaging people about ammunition, and making clear that retaliation was coming. 4 days later, on the night of August 18th, 2019, Lil Tony got into a maroon Honda Accord with 2 other ETG members, Derek Dixon, who went by Smack, and Deval Magwood, who went by Paco. They drove into the area near the Oaks at Northgate Park Apartments on Leon Street and North Duke Street, which was O Block territory. They were hunting for the people from the Instagram video. What they actually found was a family SUV carrying 5 children, including 9-year-old Zion Person and his 8-year-old cousin, who were in the car with their aunt on the way to get snow cones. Lil Tony and Dixon opened fire, and Zion was shot in the head and killed. His cousin was shot in the arm and survived. What made the evidence in this case so overwhelming is how much of it came from Lil Tony's own mistakes. He was wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor that night from a prior domestic violence charge, and GPS data from that monitor put him at the scene, at his co-defendants' homes before and after the shooting, and at a gun store where his girlfriend bought ammunition on surveillance camera earlier that same day. Middle school surveillance cameras captured the Honda following the family's vehicle right before the shooting. A 9mm handgun matching the shell casings at the scene was later recovered from his girlfriend's car.
2 men charged with
this 9-year-old boy to life in prison. Zion Person was on his way to get a snow cone when he was shot to death inside the car. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Lena Tillett. We all remember this devastating story. WRAL Sarah Kruger joins us live after speaking with Person's family, who says today justice was served. Sarah?
Lena, it was such an emotional day, and a lot of the testimony was really difficult to hear. But afterward, after the sentencing, Zion's family, they all came out here to the courthouse steps. They were hugging and rejoicing. Finally, they feel a little bit of peace.
A release of emotions years in the making.
At peace. My baby got justice. He's not here. I'm going to forever be in pain. But to know that they're gone for life definitely makes me happy.
After the shooting, Lil Tony had the car repainted black to try to hide the evidence. Lil Tony was arrested in 2019, indicted in 2020, and the case went to trial in July of 2022. A federal jury convicted him on all counts, including violent crime in aid of racketeering, which is a federal charge that prosecutors use specifically when someone commits violence to protect or advance their position in a criminal gang. His co-defendant Dixon pleaded guilty and also received a life sentence. Magwood cooperated with prosecutors and testified about how the gang operated, the internal structure, the initiations, the retaliation cycles. In October of 2022, Lil Tony was sentenced to 2 concurrent life sentences plus 10 years.
The first case that we have is Antonio Davenport. Mr. Davenport? Mr. Davenport, you are charged with first-degree murder of Zion Person on August 18, 2019, felony conspiracy to commit that murder. You are also charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury, attempted first-degree murder on Xavion Holloway. You are also charged with 4 more counts of attempted first-degree murder on Zaya Holloway, Zakia Wilson, Danielle Ragland, Zanae White. You are charged with 2 counts of discharging a weapon into an into a moving vehicle, inflicting serious bodily injury. 2 more counts of discharging a weapon into an occupied vehicle while it was in motion, and another count of discharging a weapon into an occupied dwelling. This is all from the same transaction, Your Honor. And finally, you're charged with possession of a firearm by a felon, and that you possessed a handgun when you've been convicted of secondary burglary and felony larceny.
The moment Lil Tony was arrested in 2019, Rich the Kid began pulling back from the group. The label officially distanced itself, and Lil Tony was removed from the group in April of 2020.
But according to Set It Off 83, the murder charge was not the only thing that damaged the group's relationship with Rich the Kid. In the Rise and Fall of Durham NC rap group 83 Babies documentary on YouTube, Set It Off 83 alleged that Lil Tony had also broken into Rich the Kid's baby mama's home through a window and stolen a single watch while leaving everything else behind. Rich felt personally betrayed by this because Set It Off 83 had personally vouched for Lil Tony to get him in that circle in the first place. He also said the group was constantly missing label-paid flights and meetings, which had been eating away at the deal even before the murder charge hit. Rich the Kid never publicly confirmed the theft allegation, and it is important to note that this account comes from Set It Off 83, not from court records or Rich the Kid himself. But what is not in dispute is that by the end of 2019, one member was in federal custody for the murder of a child, and the Atlantic Records deal was effectively over.
It's grimy, it's snakes, you got rats, you got niggas bite the cheese. All type of shit a nigga just don't condone it, you know? So it's like I said on the song, it was fun, now it's done, you know? I took a lot of L's with niggas, man. It held me back a lot.
That left 2 people standing from the original trio, and they were not exactly in a good place with each other either. With Lil Tony locked up and the label deal gone, Set It Off 83 had his own legal problems to deal with.
In 2022, he was convicted in Wake County, North Carolina on charges of attempting to assault a law enforcement officer with a firearm and also for being a convicted felon in possession of a gun. He served 21 months and was released in November of 2023. While Set It Off 83 was locked up, YBT was still on the outside trying to keep things moving by himself. He released his tape called Trying to Win and worked on collabs including a song called Finally Made It with Tusi. He was grinding independently, but in his 2021 interview on Off the Porch, he was honest about the fact that it felt like something was always working against them.
We still making noise, it's just feel like a little black ball hitting our way or something, I don't really know. Everything happened for a reason, that's how I look at it.
Why do you say you're blackballed?
Because, like, if you right there at the door, it shouldn't be no reason that you going backwards. You feel me? You should either standing there or going through that door, you feel me? Yeah. Waiting for somebody to open that motherfucker. I felt like we were kicking that bitch in, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
We still doing this shit though.
He could not fully name what the force was that kept pushing them back. He said multiple times in that interview that there were things he could not speak on, but the frustration was plain. This was a person who had been on a private jet, performed in front of thousands of people, was on Wild 'N Out, and was now rebuilding from scratch alone because the people he started with were either in prison or at odds with him. In May of 2024, Set It Off 83 released a song and video called No More 83 Babies that made it clear the group was finished as far as he was concerned. And in interviews around that same time and in the Rise and Fall documentary, he went into detail about his issues with YBT specifically, claiming that in a prior street shooting incident where a friend of theirs was killed, YBT had his weapon in his book bag when the shooting started and did not return fire, which in the world they came from was considered a serious failure. Set It Off 83 said that situation is what broke his trust with YBT. YBT never publicly addressed those specific claims in detail and kept his answers vague whatever the subject came up. What we do know is that by early 2026, the relationship between the two surviving members of 83 Babies had been cold for a while. In March of 2025, Durham police charged YBT with possession of a stolen firearm and misdemeanor drug possession, but both charges were dismissed in September of that same year because there was not enough evidence on the gun charge. He had no other public criminal history, nor was he on trial for anything. He was a 23-year-old rapper from Durham trying to figure out what his next move was. Then on Friday night, March 13th of 2026, just before midnight, Durham police got multiple calls about gunfire in the 3500 block of North Roxborough Street, near the Regency Place apartments and Old Oxford Road in northern Durham, which is the same part of the city that had been tied to the 830 Grand Crips for years. When officers arrived, they found 3 people inside a single car, all of them shot. Tevin Burney, 23 years old, and Jarrett Godfrey, 26 years old, were both pronounced dead at the scene. A woman in the car with them survived with injuries that were not life-threatening and was taken to the hospital.
Now at 5, Durham police identifying the 2 men killed in a shooting over the weekend. It happened late Friday night on North Roxborough Street. Police say they found 23-year-old Tevin Burney and 26-year-old Jarrett Godfrey in a vehicle. They were both pronounced dead on scene. Police say a woman was also hurt but should recover. It is not yet clear what led up to that shooting.
Durham police did not officially name the victims until Monday, March 16th, 2 days after the shooting. The shooting happened the same night that Durham city and county leaders had held a public meeting about reducing gun violence in the area. The timing is the kind of thing that is hard to sit with. As of March 17, 2026, which is the date of the most complete reporting available, Durham police have made no arrests, named no suspects, and released no information about a motive. When Set It Off 83 found out about YBT's murder, he went on Instagram and wrote something raw and unfiltered that said everything you needed to know about what had just happened to what was left of 83 Babies. He wrote that he never thought he would be the last man standing, that they were on the way to generational wealth, that they changed North Carolina, and that even though he and YBT had not been getting along lately, he still loved him, even if it was from a distance. He closed the post with "Forever 83 babies." Local Durham rapper Joe Zemo put it plainly when he spoke to the News and Observer after YBT's death. He said these are common consequences for people who do not leave the gang life behind, and that what Durham really needed was community intervention, saying it takes a village and we don't have a village right now. Do you also think Seti's post about YBT's Earth was very sus? Let me know what you think about the shooting in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.